Good people YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot, and just like that, I've owned the new Tudor BB41 Monochrome for 4 months now, which is long enough to understand what the watch is beyond the honeymoon phase and to see whether or not it's lived up to the hype, especially due to recent events. And by recent events, I mean the arrival of my beloved Omega Seamaster. It made me rethink my entire collection, and this BB41 Monochrome was put under the microscope, and it made me think about how I feel about the watch after 4 months, and now with the arrival of the Seamaster and its future in the collection. And yeah, slight spoiler alert, it's for sale, but mostly due to the Seamaster, and yeah, more details in the pinned comment. So in this video, I'm gonna go over the 3 things I love about this watch and 2 things I don't love about this watch. And in explaining these points, I'll also be explaining why the time has come for the BB41 Monochrome to find a new owner and a more fulfilling life, let's say, I guess. But yeah, anyway, let's get into it. The first and main love, and the main reason why I bought this watch in the first place, was the clean new aesthetic. Everything is black, silver, or white. Unlike every other Black Bay, there is 0 color on this watch. So no gilt this or gilt that, or gilt accent this, which for me is a big plus point. So the fact that now this black dial diver now has crisp white indices and lume, this now means that it's finally a modern take on the Black Bay in the most classic color combo, which is something that has been missing from the lineup from the start. The BB58 blue was also a modern take. However, with the blue dial, it's still a color, so it doesn't go full classic for me. The design of the hands and indices are exactly what you would expect from a Black Bay, since the design remains the exact same. But then again, you know, why mess with a proven classic layout? Oh, but a big improvement is that there is now only 2 lines of text on the bottom half of the dial, just the depth rating and master chronometer, and that really makes a big difference in terms of keeping the dial uncluttered. The clean aesthetic also applies to the simple design overall. I mean, the case has always been very simple, like every other Tudor, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. It just depends on what you want from your watch. Sometimes it's really nice to just wear a simple, well-built watch that isn't like just so a lot to take in, I guess. And speaking of the watch being well built, my next love is the build quality and refinement, because when you hold the watch and you wear it, it exudes quality. And a big part of that for me, weirdly enough, is how smooth the underside of the watch is, because sharp points and hair pulling is not what you'd associate with a well-built, refined watch. The teeth of the case back is curved, not flat like on the BB58 and BB54, which makes it much more comfortable on the wrist, which to me is very important and isn't really talked about very much. That said, the watch head is a touch heavy, which can lead to the watch being a bit top heavy when it's on the wrist, at least on the 5-link bracelet, but it still does feel rock solid on the wrist, and it isn't a problem necessarily. The bracelet itself is fantastic. The links are silky, and again, the feeling of it on the wrist is very smooth. Then of course, the T-Fit clasp is just in a league of its own. I think that it is the best on the fly micro adjustment clasp on the market right now, including the glide lock system from Rolex. I mean, it's so easy to use, it feels secure, and it's actually easy to see where you're setting the clasp, which is something that others just don't do. Well, don't do that well, I would say. Oh, and the brushing and polishing throughout the clasp, bracelet, and the case is executed at a high level. The transitions between polished and brushed on the case are sharp, and the polished surfaces all over the watch are very visually consistent. Finally, one of my favorite markers of refinement is the bezel action, and I've said this for every Tudor I've owned, and it applies here too. It is still the best 60-click bezel I've ever used. The actuation is perfectly weighted, not too stiff or too loose, yet it's effortless to turn and it's a joy to turn. But the best part for me is the feeling between the clicks. It's straight up butter, and the clicks themselves are crisp and positive feeling, and they don't sound tinny. I mean, there's no doubt about it moving around, not only because there's no play, but also because the experience is just so reassuring. I mean, let's listen. Also, I should add that the bezel grip has been updated, and the teeth are actually a little bit more chunky, not super chunky, but enough to make turning the bezel even easier than on BB58 and things like that. So that is a very, very nice update. So this actually makes a difference in many ways, because of course, knowing that the watch is going to be accurate to 0 to +5 seconds a day, and it's proven to be accurate after many tests, is great, but it being anti-magnetic to 15,000 Gauss is becoming increasingly more useful as the days go on. Back in the day, there weren't that many magnets around, maybe just, I don't know, speakers and laptop closures. I mean, basically, I wasn't in close proximity to magnets very much, and that's why an anti-magnetic watch was a plus. It was nice, but it was neither here nor there for me. It didn't really make a difference in my life. But now magnets are everywhere. Phones have magnets, MagSafe chargers are now magnets. My wallet becomes a stand through the MagSafe, so that has a magnet. The Apple Watch chargers are magnets, and now backpacks are full of magnets, and luggage for that matter. And in practice, having these magnetic latches and closures are very useful and very sleek on backpacks. But if I'm moving around with watches in my bag, it poses a very big problem. So that's why when I took my big trip this past spring, I had to specifically look for a travel backpack without magnetic latches, because I was gonna pack my SPB383 and potentially another Seiko in there. Because when I went to LA, my Captain Willard got magnetized. But anyway, so now when I travel, my watches with anti-magnetic movements are prioritized, because knowing that a Meta certified watch is truly anti-magnetic to like a ridiculous degree, it gives me peace of mind. And now on to the dislikes. And this very much is a personal preference thing, and it also depends on your collection and how you plan to use your watch. Well, I mean, how you plan to use the Black Bay 48. Back to 48, oh, good God. Let's hope they never make a 48mm Black Bay. Whoa, okay. Anyway, the Black Bay 41 Monochrome. I love a clean diver. I love my Pelagos. I have Zinyu 50, Hydro, the Titanium, Omega Seamaster 2231, the new Seiko SPB453. Love those. Black dial divers with white indices are my thing, and therein lies the problem. Amongst all my divers, it struggles to stand out in a way, and I didn't really feel as compelled to wear the Black Bay 41 Monochrome a whole bunch. And yeah, part of the issue was that it wasn't on the 3-link bracelet, but I'm still mentioning it here because my Black Bay 58 Blue had the same issue. That said, I wouldn't call it a boring watch, because there's a lot to love about this watch, and you just can't go wrong with a classic design. And plus, I own and still love my Black Bay 54, which is essentially the same design, but it's far more compelling to me because of how unique the size and details are, and the bezel design for that matter. Instead, it just so happens that within my collection, it's not as interesting as my other watches, which is why I'm selling it in this video. And like I said, with the arrival of my long beloved Seamaster, a lot of watches are going to be getting the axe that weren't previously maybe thought of getting axed. So yeah, I mean, the Seamaster is just a force of nature. I mean, that thing is just, oh, maybe I need to compare these two watches before I do that though. But anyway, this again is more of a personal preference thing, and I knew that getting this watch on the 5-link bracelet was going to be a risk when I bought it, but I also just wanted to try something out new, and maybe it would surprise me, and it kind of did. But the novelty of the 5-link bracelet wore off pretty quick, I would say. And I said it in my first video that I was 99% sure that I would sell this and get the riveted 3-link bracelet version instead, and there's still a chance that I'll do that, but again, the Seamaster is back, so you know, makes you think. The 5-link bracelet looks good and it's comfortable, but I just think for a simple black and white diver that's on the kind of chunkier side, that a 3-link bracelet fully brushed would look better, and it would also suit the watch more than a very polished bracelet. The burgundy version with the gilt hands and indices, that looks really, really good on the 5-link bracelet, and that's still really, oh, still tempting. Probably not gonna get it though, but still. Food for thought. That's why most of the time I wore it on the FKM rubber strap, which really played into and suited the tool watch side of things. And that was very enjoyable, but also me being more of a bracelet guy, that did make me a bit sad too. Oh, and the center of the clasp is polished, and it's a scratch magnet. I barely use the bracelet, and yet there are some hairline scratches, albeit very super faint hairline scratches, but you know, this is something that just happens with all polished surfaces, so it's not this watch's fault necessarily. And yeah, this wouldn't be an issue with a fully brushed bracelet. So there you have it. Let me know what you think about the Black Bay 41 Monochrome in the comments, and also hit the like button while around it, might as well. And until the next video, good day.